No, it's not. But I did get a message tonight on Reddit about the Gmargin blog, and the guy said, hey man, it's been 8 years. Are you still flipping? You left me hanging on the 100K challenge, and is the blog ever going to come back? And I thought instead of making an unlisted video like I usually do, I'd answer you publicly. So first of all, 6 years ago, I got off of YouTube, social, Reddit, everything, pretty much entirely. It wasn't that I was addicted. I think I was engaging in what I would determine to be like entrepreneurship porn. I was sort of obsessing daily about businesses that I was just consuming instead of producing. And so what was happening was that I was looking into businesses that didn't really interest me, but because someone on YouTube or Reddit or elsewhere had said it was profitable, I was all of a sudden like very, very much interested in trying to go down the rabbit hole and follow the process. And it just made me feel really creatively stunted, and it made me feel bad on myself sometimes because I felt like, these people were just crushing it, and I really wasn't doing that. I wasn't doing the sexy stuff. I was second guessing myself and second guessing the businesses that I felt were going to be profitable or I felt were going to be interesting. And so I went back to basics, and for me, basics was flipping. And instead of focusing entirely on the price or waiting for my price or trying to get on the other side of it, trying to make a quick nickel over a slow dime, I just focused really, really hard on creating relationships with the manufacturing facilities and the clients and customers that I otherwise would have been trying to do business with, where I would have sold them a piece of machinery, or I would have sold them some of my stock, and then made the $100 or $1,000 or $10,000, whatever I ended up making from them, and then that's it. It's over. I just focused really hard on trying to learn their businesses, learn what their interests are, learn what they needed, learn what they might need in a year or 2 years or whatever. And what it did is it just totally took the stress off my shoulders in terms of having to think about how I was going to scale effectively. And then also it took a lot of the stigma away from people thinking that I was just selling grandma's Hummel figurines. All of a sudden I was engaging in real business with real businesses. And I was making real money all of a sudden. And that's kind of the avenue that it provided, is that I like my very first sort of, okay, this is going to work moment was I was working with a lab, a medical lab, and the guy had told me he wanted to set up this workstation that was sort of his like pipe dream workstation. And I figured out, okay, it's going to be these 4 pieces of equipment and these accessories, and this is the software, and this is the space, and this is the optical tables he's going to need, and like all this stuff. And I accumulated it over about a 4-month period, and then I called him up and I was like, hey, I have your workstation. You said it was going to retail cost you like $325,000. I can sell it to you right now, tomorrow, delivery for $65K. And he was like, done. And the whole thing had cost me, I think, $12,000. And it did take 4 months to do it, but I was like, yeah, this is something I should concentrate on. This is the kind of flipping I want to do. Because the entire time of that 4 months, I was also just hustling like so hard, working 90, 100 hours a week, trying to sell on Amazon, trying to make new products, trying to look for new products, doing high volume of like auctions, checking AuctionZip, checking BidSpotter, checking Facebook Marketplace, checking Craigslist. It was just a nightmare, and it was like, wow, okay, I don't have to do that if I can really focus hard on these types of businesses. And the sort of the thing that emerged from that about 4.5, 5 years ago was that some of these customers ended up saying, hey, would you be interested in buying my business? And so I bought a small billboard company from a guy I was selling vinyl to. And in the first year I owned the company, I just completely retailored the marketing towards the cohort that I felt was going to be the most profitable, which was Hasidic and Orthodox Jews, because they were in the area that the billboards were. And we doubled revenue in a year. And we added like 25% of the profit. So I was buying servers for a guy that does tons of music royalty purchasing, and I ended up buying a couple of music catalogs from him, sharing the composition rights with the major labels, and then I sort of tailored it myself to my own weird niche, which in this case is like Christian music that's being played in sub-Saharan Africa. And so, because a lot of the radio stations in Africa are owned by Christian missions or funded in part by Christian missions, I figured out that a lot of these songs that I could buy the rights to were being played over and over and over again, and will be played over and over and over again for the next decade or 2 decades. And it wasn't like the hot pop music that everybody's interested in the music royalty game. It was the weird stuff that turned out to be like pretty profitable, actually. 13 to 16% ROI, which is really good for that industry. And there's a resale value to it, not as hot as like the streamable music, but definitely it's still there. So I did that kind of thing. I bought a gravel and sand gravel yard when I got really into sand, understanding that, I was originally a geologist. One of my majors in college was geology, so I do understand some basics of environmental geology and stuff like that. And so I bought a sand and gravel company, and we ended up assessing the aggregate that we were pulling out of the sand and figuring out that there's actually a higher mineral content, so I was able to increase the tonnage price and sell it to a different customer that had previously been being sold to. So like stuff like that I don't think I would have otherwise engaged in had it not been for flipping, had it not been from selling to customers and really understanding the business of that customer. So I think that's kind of where I ended up. I did do a couple of those YouTube guru businesses. I saw a guy a couple years ago who was taking 3-bedroom homes and converting them to 5-bedroom Section 8s, like totally redoing them. And I thought, shit, that's a great idea. So I sorted all the counties based on how much they paid for 5-bedroom Section 8s. And then I bought 6 homes in one of those counties. And that's turning out pretty well. It's a lot of debt, definitely scary, but with the current housing prices, it seems great until it crashes in 6 months. And also, a lot of the relationships I created were able to be, hugely useful in the last really 15 months during the pandemic, because we have all these supply chain problems. So I was able to provide, automated liquid handlers to place to COVID labs that were testing COVID and stuff like that. So like things that really mean something to me. I was able to cut a check this year to an African nonprofit that I really care about, that I know actually gives the money to what they say they're giving it to, and not just spending it on ads and operational expenses from money that I was making from, Christian music royalties being played in Africa, so stuff that has just really interesting sort of catalyzing, the really interesting catalyst and really interesting sort of the genesis of the idea becomes some consequence or some result that I can really be proud of or excited about. So that's what I'm doing. And again, the Gmargin blog, I loved it. I love meeting you guys. I love talking to you guys. I love answering your questions. I love writing it. I wish I had the time to write more. I'd have, volumes and volumes of information. I still will maintain to this day, though, that, if you have a business that you're using to, provide inertia and momentum for another, like I was using the blog to sort of provide myself with that personal momentum to do better in flipping and really push myself. If the blog was the thing that got better, I could attest that my flipping would have been bullshit. And I say that about a lot of these organizations or operations where they're selling courses. If the blog is getting better, the courses are getting better, the business is not the business they're claiming. The business is the courses. So anyway, I love answering questions. So if you have any about my current businesses or any flipping questions in general, or I still very much have some sort of read on the industry, and I'd love to answer those questions in an unlisted video or even a public video if you prefer. So anyway, I hope you're all having a profitable quarter 4. Hope you're all stocked up, because shit's gonna get wild. So thanks again, and it really means something to me when I get messages from you guys this many years later. As much as I love flipping, I really love hearing about it too. So hope you're all doing good. All right, bye.